I just couldn't find a company or a brand that I could get behind. There's other brands, but I don't want to spend $200 on a dress. And do I know your values? I work with and collaborate with only other Christian, faith-based, patriotic women. I use my business to empower other women. It has changed their lives. The more support my brand gets, the more women I'm able to bring along with me.
Hello, and welcome to Liberty Spenders Podcast. We are Kurt and Kristen Luthart, your hosts, co-founders of the Prosper Group, an agency that's helped raise over $500 million and help elect over 100 members of Congress, 15 governors, 15 U.S. senators, and 1 president. So business owners, what if you could exponentially grow your business by tapping into a lucrative and engaged audience of 76.5 million people that we call Liberty Spenders? These folks spend $5 trillion a year, and they're motivated to buy from businesses and brands that share their values. If you want to learn more, you can get access to our new best-selling book at libertyspenders.com/free.
And today, we are thrilled to welcome Lindsey Graham, better known as the Patriot Barbie. She's a dynamic Christian entrepreneur, national speaker, and #1 best-selling author. Lindsey's a fearless advocate for faith, freedom, and conservative values. Sparked by her bold stand against COVID mandates in 2020, she founded Pretty Little Patriot, which is a faith-based fashion brand, perfect for Liberty Spenders.
Oh, yes.
To empower women with patriotic, Christ-centered apparel. Through this venture and her nonprofit, Galatians Girl, she inspires women to embrace purpose-driven business and to live boldly for Christ.
Love it.
Yes, with her powerful testimony, we're excited to have her on. Welcome to Liberty Spenders, Lindsey.
Hi.
Hello. Good morning-ish.
Yes.
I know. I know. In podcast world, you never know when anyone will listen to anything either. So it's
I know.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah.
Right? From that movie. So
you guys ever go to church and when you go to church like in the evening, you're like, good morning, good morning, good morning. And you're like, it's literally 7 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Whoops.
Yeah. I had to explain. It's funny. We were visiting my parents. I grew up in Kentucky. We live in Indiana now. And I took my 2 little kids. We have a 3 and a 5-year-old, and we were visiting them, and they've got, Wednesday service, which I grew up going right anytime the doors were open. My family was there. But we don't do that here in Indiana. And so they saw the parking lot full. Mommy, why is everybody at the church? I was like, well, they have evening service here,
Oh,
and so
my gosh.
I totally relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
We used to do Wednesday night prayer meeting, which as a 12-year-old and 13-year-old was not my most exciting service, right? Because everybody would literally kneel in their pews, and one person would be praying, and that would go on for an hour, and Mom would give me little cars I was playing with.
Oh,
Eventually
my
they
gosh.
added youth meeting that night, which made it a little more. But for a 12-year-old, it's like, what is happening here?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're excited to talk to you because it's such a perfect fit with Liberty Spenders, what you're doing with Pretty Little Patriot. And I love to hear everybody's origin story because there's always something crazy in this. You stood up against vaccines in 2020, launched this fashion brand. How did all that go down?
So I actually was I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I had a 25 chair salon in Oregon, 4 tanning salons, had just launched a hair extension company online, and my husband owned a gym. So when COVID lockdowns came in 2020, I was not political, and I actually wasn't very spiritual either, wasn't walking closely with the Lord. I just kind of looked at my husband and I said, if we stay shut down, as long as the governor says we need to stay shut down, we're going to lose our entire livelihood. We're going to go bankrupt. So I opened up against the COVID lockdowns in 2020. And what followed was just a relentless pursuit of my family by the government, and a relentless attack on my personal life by the cancel culture. So it was I wrote a whole book about it. It's devastating what they did to our family. But we ended up losing all of our businesses not to lockdowns, even to the cancel culture. And sold our home, closed the businesses, and moved to another state. And that is where God rewrote my story. I took a break from entrepreneurship for about 2 years, 2.5 years. I was destitute. I was devastated by the loss of like everything I'd worked for my entire life, and went through an identity crisis where the Lord just kind of found me and called me to write my book and spoke to me in that process, and gave me the strength and courage to jump back into business after 2 years.
Wow. I tell you, it's so amazing how many people we talk to. And that was such a turning point for so many people, you know, because it just exposed so much. And the reactions people gave to honest questions was shocking to so many. And so while I hate that you went through that, but it sounds like it brought you to the Lord and strengthened your faith. And now you're coming through it on the other side. And so for so many people, I know it was a real turning point, and they figured out, they learned a lot about themselves and how brave they could be, right? And then they could stand up for what they cared about. So wow, I applaud you, but that must have been a tough, a tough time.
Yeah, I could say it with a smile on my face now, but back then it was for sure the hardest thing I'd ever been through. But honestly, I have the exact moment where, I felt that it was kind of my Job story in the Bible, and I spoke to the Lord, and I had to, decide for myself at that moment, okay, I'm literally losing everything that I know to be true in my life. Do I turn back to the God that I was raised on, that loves me, has a plan for me, and turns all things to good? Or do I, curse him in this moment where I'm just desolate? And I chose that moment to really reaffirm my faith in the Lord. And I think that's where he said, okay, now I'm ready to do what I want to do with you. So I have no regrets.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So this can be our first cow path, right? I like this.
I knew it. I knew we wouldn't get very far.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about this because Kristen mentioned this about, COVID was a big moment, but almost every successful entrepreneur we've talked to has had some moment when they thought the whole thing was over. And I think it's interesting to get into what was that? Because you had a 2-year time period, you said, where you weren't in entrepreneurship and you had lost your business. So what was that battle like? Did it take 2 years of kind of back and forth before you said, you know what, I'm going to trust God on this? Was it something you felt like you made a decision about early, and then it just kind of took 2 years before the opportunity? And how was that? Because so many of us go through this wilderness path, and I think a lot of people have been there with you, and you just don't know what to expect. Is God telling me to be patient and wait it out and wait for his timing? Should I be picking up my sword and fighting about? What was that like for you?
It was a really cool process for me, because the business that I did in Oregon, what I was very, very good at and very successful at was doing hair. And I specialized in only color and extensions. So only the high-end services. As an example, I had 2 assistants. I only worked 4 days a week, making $250,000 a year doing hair. So, very successful. And the Lord was very, very good to me in this process, because when I left Oregon and, kind of went through that identity crisis, I did try to start doing hair again in Arizona, where we had moved. And he shut the doors. I mean, he shut the doors. Like, there was no opportunity. There was no success. There was no clientele rushing to me. And normal people that live outside of faith would go, oh my gosh, what's wrong? I'm really good at this. And where's my success? And why isn't this easy? It was him very, very clearly saying, you are not supposed to keep doing this. This is not the path I have you on. He just blocked the blessing. So, after a few months, I went, okay, it's too devastating to try to start over anyway, but I'm not getting any momentum. So I walked away from that very, very easily. He made it pretty clear. I thought maybe I'll be a real estate agent, like we'll move to a new state. A lot of people are wanting to leave these liberal Democrat states. So I went and got my real estate license, studied very hard, passed the test, and again, blocked at every opportunity. Just like I thought something would come up, and I'd be really excited about it, joining a team that was super patriotic, and something would fall through. And I hated being a real estate agent, by the way, hated it. And so the Lord was like, nope, you're not supposed to do that either. And somewhere in that process is where he told me to write a book. And that's when I sat down and wrote Targeted. And when I sat down to write that book, it was his way of asking or demanding my undivided attention, so that when I sat down at a computer and I started typing out my story, he could speak to me through that time. That was my quiet time. It was like, it was very much his intention. And in writing that book, I recognized I am not supposed to do hair again. I'm not supposed to be a real estate agent. I'm not supposed to pursue any business at this time. I am supposed to speak truth. He did not allow me to go through this incredibly rare, one-of-a-kind story just to go back to my old life. I mean, how silly is that when you think about saying it?
Yep.
How silly is that? It would be like telling Noah to build the ark, and then when he gets off the ark, he just goes back to being, whatever.
Right.
So I recognized I'm supposed to just kind of be still and speak truth where I see it being, where I see lies being told, and be a bold voice and tell my testimony. And so that is what I did for 2 years. I just embraced the Patriot Barbie moniker that the left gave me and built my social media, not even intentionally, just kept saying, okay, Lord, I'm going to tell the truth when I feel you speaking to me. And I did that for 2 years. I didn't have any desire to get into business again, especially the businesses that I had known. And it was really just meeting people and seeing the opportunity for a new business and deciding, if I do this again, if I become an entrepreneur again, it's going to be to glorify God. It's not going to be just some basic business or something that I think I might be good at. It's got to be something that I give to him, like something that's missing in our culture.
If you're listening to this show, it's probably because you understand something most people don't. Marketing to Liberty Spenders isn't just about ads or tactics, it's about trust. And in the real world, trust moves through relationships. And that's why private introductions and deal flow are such a core part of what we do.
So FastPass is a private introduction and deal flow network for Christian and conservative leaders who already have influence and want to scale fast. It's not open networking, it's intentional introductions between people who already share alignment. We've seen one client land a $25,000 opportunity from a single introduction. Another told us that FastPass has become his largest source of referrals, not because of volume, but because of fit. And yet another closed her equity round at a key moment just due to the right introduction.
When you book a one-to-one consult with us, we're not handing you a list or making big promises. Instead, we're having a real conversation about what you're building, who you want to meet, and whether FastPass makes sense for this season for you. So no pressure, no hustle, and no awkward pitch from us.
Yeah. If you're ready to grow through relationships instead of forcing everything on your own, head to libertyspenders.com/FastPass and book a one-to-one consult with us.
In worst case, you leave with clarity. Best case, the right introductions change the trajectory of what you're building.
Okay, back to the episode.
I mean, obviously, if you were doing hair, you're creative, right? You can't, like somebody like me, I would struggle, but people that got to have creative flair, they're artistic. So clearly God gifted you with that, right? That skill, that innate ability to create. So what made you channel that then into launching this fashion brand?
Yeah, great question. And it wasn't just a really vague idea. I had built a social media brand where I was constantly being asked to be an affiliate for companies, especially like patriotic t-shirt companies and hat companies and, whatever was out there, whatever my brand represented. And at the same time, I was being asked more to come be keynote speaker for pro-life events, Republican events, things like that. And I was also an ambassador for Turning Point. So I was at Turning Point events all the time doing panels and, networking. And every time I would want to dress up really fun and flashy and exciting, but modest, but also high quality, I just couldn't find a company or a brand that I could get behind. There were companies, and I certainly won't drop names, that were like, their stuff is really fun and flashy and it's sequin and it's frilly, but it falls apart after one wear. Or, there's a reason it's $12. And then there's other brands, name brands, high-end brands, but I don't want to spend $200 or $300 on a dress. And do I know your values? Like, I know that a lot of these bigger brands went woke, and a lot of them are now using men to model their clothes. And I certainly won't get behind that. And then there's Christian faith-based brands. And a lot of them I wanted to support, but their clothes were just too modest, right? Like, long dresses and long sleeve dresses. And I was like, no, I want to wear strapless, feather seek, radical clothes, cute clothes. I want to look, frilly and fun. Uh-huh. So in that moment, it was at a Turning Point USA event. I recognized, if no one's doing it, maybe I'll do it. Like, this is what I'm known for, right? Is wearing hot pink to a convention where everyone else is wearing black. So that I'd actually already reserved the Pretty Little Patriot domain. I'd already registered the Pretty Little Patriot LLC, and I had no idea what I was going to use it for. I'd done that 2 years earlier. I just came up with the name. So then when this idea struck me, I thought, that's what I'll do is I'll do a fashion brand called Pretty Little Patriot.
Oh, it's so awesome.
That is cool. Yeah. So I am picturing then, like in the movies. So you're sketching out clothes.
This is Kurt's knowledge, right?
Right?
This is
I'm not in the fashion business, right? But that's what I picture. You've got a big, desk with the papers on it, and you're sketching out. Look at this, that's what they do.
Do they, Kurt? Like? Do they?
Well, I feel like we watched that. I watched an episode of that reality show at one point where they have the contest for. Yeah.
No, he's right. He's
designer for like a deck.
Yeah. So what is it? What's it like running? What is it that are you the one? You get to design all the clothes yourself? How does all that go down?
Not yet. That's why I love this visual. I'm like, that has never happened. I'm not at a sketchboard designing frilly things. I am, but I was at a table at that event on a cocktail napkin sketching out the logo. There was some sketching. Yeah. But no, I actually just partner with companies that specialize in more elaborate, designs like this. There's a chance that someday I may design. I've got ideas for pieces. I've actually put pieces together and like the top on top of the bottom that don't go together. And I thought, well, if someone would put this together as a dress, that would look so cute. I would wear that. We're not there yet. But, designing a brand, like, a brand and having to live up to that brand. And that brand is it's very pinpointed. It is the Christian, faith-based, patriotic mama bear who is not ashamed to say it's okay to wear hot pink lipstick and, have a glass of champagne and wear a boa when you shouldn't wear a boa. It's okay to dress up to go to the grocery store. It's a very niche type of woman. And we don't just carry sequins and feathers. Don't get me wrong. We carry very basic sets. Okay. We carry sweatsuits like that glorify God. Sweatsuits. I'm like, this is for the mom picking her kids up at school, like me. But there is a lot involved in building a brand, and it's I'm trying to juggle the idea that I myself am a brand, the Patriot Barbie, but I am not the brand Pretty Little Patriot. The brand Pretty Little Patriot is a brand that's designed for all women. I don't want it to be about me. I'm not the one on the Instagram making the content all day and saying, look at me in my clothes. I want other women to feel like this is my brand. This is what I stand for. And I'm the face of this company, to empower women to feel comfortable and feminine in their clothes. There's a struggle with women, and I'm sure you can relate, Kristen, where we want to be in sweatpants all day and have our hair in top knots. Like Lord knows most of the time I do. But now we've gotten to a place in our culture where that's where we go out shopping and like, it's okay. Oh, it's just acceptance. Let's just be in sweatpants. You guys know I'm busy. But there is something empowering when you are wearing a little bit of makeup or you've put some effort in and a nice piece of clothing and someone compliments you and you look around sometimes and you're like, I'm the only woman in this grocery store not wearing sweatpants. Like,
yep,
that feels good. I feel like there's empowerment in putting myself together and feeling confident. And it doesn't all look the same for every woman. So it's certainly not about, any one cookie cutter type look. I went and spoke at, I think it was a Moms for America event, and I had a little dress on and some high heels, and we took a break and I went to lunch. And this gentleman behind me said, excuse me, I just want to say that you look very nice. And I was like, well, thank you. And then I looked around and I was like, yeah, I mean, sure enough, I definitely look dressed up compared to everyone else. And he was acknowledging me in such a respectful way. Like, remember women used to wear their little petticoats and their little hats and you wouldn't leave the house without makeup and high heels. And that's how you looked as a woman. And I'm not saying that's the only right way, but every now and then it feels good to look like a female, like dress like a female.
It's very empowering. And I also think there's science backs that up, right? I mean, just how you feel. It doesn't matter about, being ultra feminine or the high heels. I've given those up years ago and will not go back. But there is science about that, getting ready in the morning, getting put together. And that's another thing that, COVID and how we've gotten more casual, more Zoom meetings. There's a lot of beauty in that, less time maybe being spent. But that does affect your psychology. Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And you want to feel good about yourself.
Well, and don't get me going about the young generation and them wearing pajama pants in public.
Yes. Thank you.
That is a pet peeve. Like, okay, come on now.
Yep.
And the little kind of half Uggs. That's what they all.
Yes.
Style,
kind of thing.
Style, babe.
I'm thinking, come on, people.
Yeah. Got to give them grace because they're teenagers. But then when you apply that style to like women over 40, you're like, are you really leaving the house like that? I mean, if you had just had surgery or a baby, I'm all for it, right? Or you are ill, you're physically ill. But at some point at a certain age, it's like adults should probably not be out in public in their pajama pants.
Yes. Yes, I agree. So there we go. We can both relate to that. But now, in addition to, you've launched this and you're selling online, but you've got a storefront in Texas.
Yeah.
How new is that?
Very new, you guys. We opened in August, so just a few months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Where are you at? Are you in Dallas, Houston? Where are you at?
I'm in Hudson Oaks, which is a suburb of the Fort Worth area.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a different turn, right? So what I love about this dissecting is even your process, and you had some idea, you registered a domain name, your acknowledgement of branding of yourself and business. There's so many lessons, I think, for people to pick up listening to this, because those are two very distinct things. And then there's also just the business operations side. So you're making this work. You've got an avenue, right, for exposure, right? You're speaking. You have ways to get your brand out. It's one of the things we talk about with our clients is what's your product rollout strategy? What is it that works for you? And how can you make things work in this ecosystem, right? Because there is an ecosystem that's very tight knit, and it's possible to really grow a business utilizing that, which you're doing right now. So what was the decision matrix like to open up a storefront?
Well, it was very random, which is kind of the way that the Lord works. I was moving to Texas myself personally, and the Pretty Little Patriot warehousing was in Arizona, where I currently lived. And it was just a no-brainer that, the warehouse needs to come with me to Texas, and I'll hire a new person there. I just can't be, 3 states away from my operations. I was moving that and my home, trying to sell our home, trying to buy land, and trying to buy a temporary home in Texas all at once with 3 kids during the summer. And I rented. You like
to do things easy, is what I'm picking up on.
I know.
I
don't do things one at a time. You just I only take projects when I can't afford to take projects. So I had a real estate agent find a warehouse for me sight unseen. I just said, I just need a warehouse, just this size, get this budget, give me a warehouse. And she did. And the first time I ever saw my warehouse is when I moved into it. And when I moved into it, I realized there was like this small kind of entryway opening. And then it went into an expanded further back. And I was like, if I can get all these clothes in their warehousing bins in the back, I could do a showroom up front. I could. I know what I'm doing, right? And this is amazing because this is how the Lord prepares you for your life. I'd already remodeled a salon like 4 times. We had remodeled our house that we moved into in Texas. My husband did remodels in Arizona for a living when we lost all of our businesses. I know how to hang light fixtures. I know how to lay flooring. And so in that mentality, if this were any other person, they'd be like, I don't know how to open a storefront. I just said, I'll just lay a little floor, throw a little paint on, hang a chandelier, buy some racks, and we've got a boutique. And that's what I did. Very it was not in the business plan at all. We'll just say that. Not at all. But I thought, you know what? Texas is very supportive, and my online sales, that's my business, is running this thing online. But if I just add the bonus of having a storefront where people can come in and try the clothes on that are local, that's a win-win. And now I have a place to host events and do meet and greets. And so it's been successful. It's been really fun.
Well, I wish you the best with that.
Thank you.
And that's a big deal. But now for something completely different, because I think we get an interesting answer. So you're a fierce patriot, fierce advocate for freedom. If you could have a coffee chat with any fictional character, but they sort of embody the faith and liberty that you stand for, like say a Wonder Woman or an Atticus Finch or something, who would you want to have a coffee chat with?
Okay, this is the coolest. My eyes are starting to water. This is the coolest faith download I got today. I typically don't read podcast questions in advance because I like to be so authentic. I skimmed through yours kind of on accident because I opened the attachment and I went, ooh, I should probably think about that one, because those are the ones I don't like to go, who would and you just sit there for like 5 minutes and they're like, wrap it up. We're on a podcast. So do you know that for the first time ever, my answer would be Mary, Jesus' mom. She's not fictional.
I'll take it.
Okay.
That's still a good answer.
Okay. Could you imagine me as a believer being like, Mary's not real? Because I endured so much cancel culture in standing up for freedom, right? But rarely do we talk about that this woman told her husband, I didn't cheat on you, Joseph. I'm pregnant with the Son of God. Oh, it's a miracle. And then she walked around pregnant and telling everyone she was pregnant with the Son of God. Could you imagine the ridicule, the rolling of the eyes, the shame? And she had to endure all of that in her calling. And it makes my story seem so pathetic. Like I got, death threats from Antifa and blah, blah, blah. But imagine walking around pregnant with a child saying it's the Son of God, and you know that it is, and you know the truth. And people are just mocking you relentlessly while the greatest thing ever is happening to you. But when it's over, that was what your purpose was. Wouldn't that just be incredible to have a conversation about that?
I think so. Well, not only that, but the amazing obedience. And think about, how you're feeling that close to giving birth. And then it's like, oh, and we're going to have to travel and there's no decent place. Right. And where she had to, give birth to the Lord that would be one heck of a conversation for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's so counterintuitive, right? In what crazy world would any of us have said, okay, we're going to plan the birth of our Savior and organized it that way.
Right.
Right. Nobody famous was the mom. We're going to have him born in a barn. Right.
Next to animal poop.
Right. Just something so counterintuitive. It's just like you said earlier. I wrote down when you said you feel like, you talked about the Lord works randomly. You said, and I thought, isn't that so true? It's unexpected. Right. Never have I designed anything that looks at all like what the Lord's
God
intention.
Designs.
Right. I think that's powerful. And the other thing that you're up to with Pretty Little Patriot, that of course we're about as bought in as you could get on this, but the idea about using our dollars to shift the narrative, but also to support other faith-friendly, conservative-friendly business owners, and how important and how great an opportunity that is.
Yes.
I'm going to buy clothes somewhere. Why wouldn't I buy it from somebody who shares my values and is going to use it for good?
Right.
I know that's something that's powerful to you, but what's that how much of that is part of your vision and the power of this concept of some people call the Patriot economy or the parallel economy?
Well, so, one thing that I do in my personal life is I live by the standards that I, preach to other people. You will not catch me with a Starbucks in my hand. You will not catch me with a Netflix subscription. Like it's not a cancel culture thing. It's I spend the majority of my day fighting the left and fighting the cancel culture and fighting the woke ideology. Why would I turn around and fund them to fight against me and make my own life harder? And when we do that, when we say, when someone says, Lindsey, I'm so proud of you. I got your back. Thanks for fighting this fight. I say, are you funding the people fighting against me? Or are you funding those that support me? Because I don't need you to say you have my back and then turn around and go shop at Target, who I just exposed as having sexual paraphernalia in their front entry of their door, right? And you're making my fight harder. So I practice what I preach, which I think is huge. And furthermore, when you develop a business in the parallel economy like this, I didn't even recognize the impact it would have on the people around me. I need a graphic designer. I need a digital ads marketer. I need a social media manager. I need a website designer. I need, multiple different, I need a warehouse manager. I need someone to run my vendor booths. I employ, I work with and collaborate with only these other Christian, faith-based, patriotic women. I use my business to empower other women in the arena that I'm in. And it has changed their lives. And the more support my brand gets, the more women I'm able to bring along with me in this journey. And it's like, how incredible is that? That a lot of people would say, oh, this brand is just, it's for you and you're making money and you're profiting. And, it is one of my main businesses. I only have a couple now, and it allows me to stay home with my children. It empowers me. It lets me, fulfill a purpose with my social media, and it lets me empower other women in the parallel economy. And so it does so much more good than just being, a basic business. It brings so much life to our parallel economy in other ways. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but just for anybody, I mean, I'm sure no one listening to this feels this way, or you're probably listening to the wrong podcast. But even if it was just to make money,
right?
Nothing wrong with that, by the way, because what are we doing with our money? Right. Hopefully tithing, right? Supporting people, people in our communities, our families, having an impact, being generous with those around us. And so, not a bad thing.
No,
yeah.
Just to
it's
make
okay
that
if
point. I want to
but,
feed my kids. I mean, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody.
Well, and our motivation, coming from the work we've done in raising, we're almost up to $600 million now, raised for political candidates, and now having this impact for business owners. Yes, I want them to grow their revenue, grow their profitability, and make more money so that they can have a greater impact. And so we can rise together as a community. And so that's what it's all about. So I just, we are all about growing our businesses so that, as you said, we can empower others and bring as many people along with us.
Yeah.
Amen.
Now, you probably don't need to be told this, but you're in the fashion space, which means you're in probably one of the most competitive, businesses to be in, right? I mean, with people who have deep pockets and big brand names, have been around for 20, 25 years, if not longer. How do you get up every day, fight the cancel culture, but in addition to that, you still have to, you have to compete with somebody who might be, buying from a brand that they've known and bought for forever. So what's working for you to help grow your business?
Well, I'm just doubling down on the faith, the faith aspect, because we can very clearly see that a lot of brands will take the stance of being neutral in politics or neutral in faith because they don't want to alienate one or the other side, if you will. And I just think, I've had conversations with God where I said, look, the Bible says in all things glorify him. And this has to be something where I do not shy away from the belief system. And now to say you're a faith-based brand is one thing, but then to live up to those faith-based values boldly is another. So we don't just say we're a faith-based brand. We say we are a pro-life brand. Life begins at conception. We're anti-abortion. We are pro-women. We do not believe that men can be women, nor should we acknowledge men as women. Those, you see how you can go from saying we're a faith-based brand, but then you stay silent on the topics that are faith-based. We don't stay silent on those. So I'm just doubling down on the fact that this nation is starting to realize that we are in a spiritual war, and where you shop does matter. And hopefully Christians are recognizing how important it is to devote your finances into your values and what a difference it makes. And I'm counting on them to recognize that in my brand, that I will continue to take the hits from the left and on social media, and from people who would call me homophobic and anti-woman and all, anti-trans and all these things, because I'm boldly representing my brand in actual faith, even in the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the lesson, right? Is that even in those conversations, like you said, being bold, speaking of turning point, right? I mean, I just loved how anytime Charlie Kirk would talk about his philosophy or how he tried to approach having discussions or debates, it was balancing truth and grace. And I think that's so important. You want to speak truth, but you want to recognize the grace aspect and always point people to him being the Lord, not Charlie.
Right. Right.
And that is a balancing act, right? Because you want to show love to all people, but not water down the truth. And so I just love it. So for anybody listening, right, I'm going to read right from your About Us because it's so fun. Welcome to our Girls Only Club. We're so excited to share not only our fashion brand with you, but this journey. Our mission statement and core values prominently embrace the beliefs of conservative women across America, giving them the sense of respect, appreciation, and value that they deserve. We believe God created men and women uniquely different, and our fashion is for XX chromosomes only. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
I think that's great.
I did like the Girls Only Club, although I do feel a little left out. Maybe there'll be
you could shop
pretty awesome Patriot or something for men someday.
There's a domain reserved. I'll just say that.
There we go. Yes.
Stay tuned, folks.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, while you're at it, you also have an organization called Galatians Girl. So tell us about that. I know very little about it. So walk us through what Galatians Girl is. Okay.
Well, when God told me to write my book, Targeted, in 2020, I think I wrote it in 21, published it in 22. I thought I was sitting down to write the story about fighting the government. And in that process, when he was kind of speaking to me, he was telling me to write my whole testimony, because my testimony is how I became a strong enough person to stand up to government in 2020. And so I wrote a testimony about, being in an abusive relationship, a drug addiction, being a dancer, and even having an abortion with my abusive fiance, and the regret and the shame that comes with all of that, because I had fallen so far away from God in my 20s. And then having the Lord, not only remove those sins from my life, but heal me as well. And then now I see that he has designed this platform for me to use those stories, not in shame and not to hide them, but to use them quite publicly to minister to other women. And I will tell you that speaking about having an abortion, which is the most shameful thing that you can admit, I've had so many women reach out to me personally and say, I had an abortion 40 years ago and I've never told anyone. I've just kind of lived in shame. And I thought, oh my gosh, it really is changing hearts. They're going back to church and they're asking the Lord for forgiveness, and that veil of shame is being lifted by the Holy Spirit in his blood. And my story makes an impact. And so I do a daily devotional every day live on my social media, on my Galatians Girl page, and on my Patriot Barbie page, because I am not ashamed. And I also do a women's Galatians Girl women's Bible study on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Central. So and I would need to pull it up because I don't quite have it memorized yet. But if you want to pull it up, Galatians 5:1, it basically says, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free, essentially to no longer be a slave to, I want you to read it because I don't want to sugarcoat the Bible and I don't want to.
Well, I also did a quick check and I'm like, I don't want to trust AI. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery.
Okay. Stand strong and do not let yourself again be burdened by the yokes of slavery. And I think that drugs are an addiction to drugs is a sort of slavery. An abusive relationship is a form of slavery. Living in shame of an abortion or shame of any sin is a form of slavery. And you are freeing yourself from the slavery of all of those sins when you give your life to Christ. It literally says it is in freedom. It is for Christ that has set us free. When you give your life to the Lord and you follow him closely and you seek after him intimately, you set yourself free. Most people would say, I don't live in slavery. What are you talking about? Yes, you do. If you are living in shame and regret of past sins and decisions, you are the devil is keeping you enslaved to that, and you cannot be truly free to fulfill your purpose in Christ. And so Galatians Girl is based on that scripture, the ability to say whatever it is that has enslaved you in shame, Christ has set you free from that. And if you can turn that story and use that testimony to his glory, then you are truly free. And I am more free in telling the world that I've killed my own child. Okay. How horrible is that? Because I'm giving Christ the credit for freeing me from that shame. And there's obviously no shame, or I wouldn't say it out loud. That is how truly freeing he is. That is like the true gospel. And so Galatians Girl is based on empowering women to walk away and not let themselves be enslaved by that shame of their past or their decisions.
Amazing.
Well, before we move on to our lightning round, I think I wanted to give you an opportunity. What is next? What is around the corner for Galatians Girl or for Pretty Little Patriot? Maybe it's that pretty awesome Patriot men's line. What's coming around the corner?
Well, I love this answer because the answer is I don't know. When I told the Lord in 2020, you've got my life, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect this brand. I didn't expect a ministry. I didn't expect a 523,000 following on Instagram. I didn't sign up for or ask for any of this. And so I do not ever know what he's got for me. I'm going to just keep chugging along, praying for breakthrough for this brand, praying for the right opportunities for Galatians Girl to be a speaker in ministry, and be excited because he's always full of surprises.
So true.
Yes.
So true.
Full of surprises is absolutely
better to stay open, right?
That's right. Yeah. If I tell you what I want, then I'm seeking after my own desires, and that might not be what God wants. So then it's like, I'm either going to tell you that I'm about to do something that's going to fail, or I didn't leave it open for God to say, well, this is actually what I have for you. Oh, okay, Lord. Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is a podcast episode in and of
Yes,
itself,
it is.
that mentality. But,
Yes, it is.
Yep.
It's powerful.
But yeah, instead, we're going to jump right into our lightning round.
I'm ready.
So you're laying in your bed, hopefully 50 plus years from now, looking back on your life. How do you know that you've lived a life well lived and left the kind of legacy behind that is important to you?
I will know by my very grounded, faith-based, successful children, my 3 children. They will be, so 50 years from now, they'll be 60 and 55 and whatever. And they will be married, raising little Jesus-loving children with, jobs that they love and a heart for Christ and the boldness that I need them to have in the spiritual war that they're going to be facing in 50 years. That's how I will know. It's all them.
I like that. Now, again, changing complete topics. 90 seconds on something that's got you down the rabbit hole lately. Maybe a hobby that you are into. Maybe it's a sports team, book you read, something that's kind of caught your attention.
Oh gosh. Well, you guys, I mean, it's got to be the Charlie Kirk thing, right? I know. I don't want to go too far into it, but it's got to be what this nation is experiencing because of this loss and the details surrounding this loss and the next move for Turning Point USA and what's happening because of his death. And it is certainly not an open and shut conversation. And so a lot of my conversations and my, endless scrolling right now is gathering information. And as a Christian, having my eyes wide open, as to what the true evils of this world could be.
Mm-hmm.
That was
and
way
what
less
the
than 90
opportunities
seconds.
are.
What's that?
Yeah,
well,
you did a great job.
And I said, and what the opportunities are for all of us, right? To be light, and to have those kinds of conversations. The number of people, business owners, others who are coming up and like saying, "Whoa, that really sparked something in me." I feel even more motivated to speak out and not be quiet about my faith. And how can I incorporate that into my business and to everything I'm doing? And so there's such a tremendous opportunity for us right now within the church to encourage each other, to be bold and to have this opportunity while people are kind of open-minded, right? And they're learning and they're listening and they're hearing things to speak into them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's preparing, right? We're putting on the armor.
Yes. Yeah.
We're putting on the armor, but we're also recognizing the opportunity that we have to influence people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'd like to end with 60, 90 seconds of gratuitous self-promotion.
Ooh, I love it.
So somebody who is, maybe they've not listened to anything else, but if they fast forwarded somehow magically to this very moment, what is 90 seconds on the kind of person who should be shopping with Pretty Little Patriot, what you do for them, and how do they find you?
Pretty Little Patriot can be found on Instagram at Pretty Little Patriot, online prettylittlepatriot.com, and we are looking for the faith-based conservative mom who doesn't just want clothes. She wants clothes that will last, clothes that have value, and clothes that support what she believes in. That's the important thing. They'll still come to your front door. Very convenient. They're still affordable. That's awesome. But then that extra little bonus is you are supporting not a big corporation. You are literally supporting me. You're supporting a woman who has given up her whole life to stand for freedom and instead stay at home with her children and run businesses that give her the opportunity to be a mom first and foremost. That's who you're supporting. I think that sound bit right there is absolutely enough to motivate the right woman.
Right. I agree with that.
I do too.
And Lindsey, we're so happy that you joined us. And I'll just reiterate this. If you want to learn more or you want to check out what she's got to offer, go to www.prettylittlepatriot.com and check it out.
You can also check her out at patriotbarbie.com. So we just got all the things, right? All the things to see what Lindsey is up to. Thank you so much for joining us, Lindsey, and for your time. It's really inspiring. We love connecting with just people who are out there hustling every day, getting it done, standing up and being strong. So I hope you'll be encouraged and know that we have got your back in your corner. And thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And for everybody listening, thanks for your time. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn more, you can, again, we invite you to join the Liberty Partnership community at libertyspenders.com. Until next time.